More monetary wealth and comforts mean more joy, right? Wrong. It's true that people enjoy more material wealth in the 21st century, but we're emotionally and psychologically drained. Pain and failure, regrets and sorrows keep piling up, and we continue giving a fuck about things when we really shouldn't. So how can you live life fully and find genuine happiness? Let the best-selling book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson, be your guide. Before we enter the door to your happiness, show love to our channel by hitting the bell icon below. And now let's start by debunking myths about success and happiness. Myth number 1, stop trying. Unsurprisingly, happiness has started feeling like an alien concept. You have more choices and chances to succeed, yet you feel unhappy and depressed. Why do you feel that growing emptiness in your stomach, despite getting a recent promotion or incentive at work? Why doesn't it ever feel like enough? The paradox is the more you pursue the positives, the more negative you'll feel, and vice versa. So running after being rich, happy, or worthy will make you feel poor, unworthy, or unhappy, no matter how much you already have in life. But if you accept the negatives in your life, you'll feel better. For example, if you don't have a large social circle, know that you're not worth everyone's time instead of the other way around. If you fail at a task at work, embrace it, as it will help you improve later. The most common problem you might face when switching from positive to negative is the messages and motivations you receive daily. You're told feeling bad is bad. You're told you should feel good about yourself, no matter what. Manson calls this the feedback loop from hell. The best way to stop this is to stop giving a fuck about everything or trying to be perfect. But that doesn't mean becoming indifferent altogether. Remember, not to give a fuck about conventional norms and others' opinions. Be different. If it means making a scary career switch, do it. If it means leaving an abusive partner, don't think twice. Don't give a fuck about pain and adversity. Real breakthroughs don't happen when you keep avoiding challenges and failures, so figure out what's important for you and worth your time and energy. Don't be someone who claims they don't care about anything. These people actually hide behind a mask of indifference to avoid making tough choices in life. You have to give a fuck about something, but make sure you choose your priorities carefully. Don't waste time and energy on things that don't matter. The rude waiter, your colleague getting a promotion, or you missing out on the greatest seasonal sale is not worth it. Myth number 2, make pain your friend. Few realize this, but pain is a part of our biological feedback system, spurring us into action. It's not bad. Instead, it's a tool telling us what needs our attention. For example, if you feel a sharp pain in your feet, you must check if you pricked yourself with a needle. Besides physical pain, psychological pain tells us when something is out of balance. Myth number 3, don't treat yourself as special. Motivational speakers, best-selling authors, and life coaches will tell you you're special, unique, and destined for greatness. But not everything is black and white. The stories you read about the richest, fastest, or most famous people look good on paper. They only mean to grab your attention. And they create this sense of extreme that anything below that is abnormal. That being average is a sign of failure. The reality is that most of us are average, so you might be good at speaking in public, but you won't be as good as writing a speech and vice versa. Myth number 4, suffer with a purpose. Suffering is inevitable, so even if you must, do it with a purpose. The question shouldn't be about when your suffering will end. Instead, ask yourself about the purpose you're suffering for. There are 3 levels of understanding your purpose. Number 1, understand the emotions you're feeling. Number 2, understand why you feel that way. Number 3, understand your values. You may find self-help tips focusing on the first 2 levels, but change happens when you change your values. This means changing your views about success and failure. Take the example of Dave Mustaine. Dave was kicked out of Metallica. Though he went on to form a new band and become a huge success, he still regarded being kicked out of his band as his biggest failure. In contrast, Pete Best was kicked out of the Beatles and never rebuilt his music career. So, what did he do? He met the love of his life, built a loving family, and found that he was much happier than he would have been in the Beatles. Both men faced the same setbacks, but their actions evaluated their lives differently because they held different values. The first step towards living a good life comes with identifying better values, and the book sheds sufficient light on it. And now we'll talk about the 5 counterintuitive values for a good life. Take radical responsibility. Imagine your business partner cheated you out of $1 million. You can choose to feel helpless and depressed or motivated to turn things around. You can also blame everything on your partner and your bad luck, or you can acknowledge you failed to identify the telltale signs and do your part. Taking responsibility gives you the power to control them, but when you feel forced to face a problem or blame others, you will feel victimized and miserable. And although you can't control what happens around you, you can always control how to interpret these events and respond or not. Even saying, "I can't do anything about it," is a choice. Remember, the choice is not about responsibility versus fault, because we all love to take credit for success but avoid responsibility for problems as we wrongly associate responsibility with fault. Taking responsibility for a problem does not mean putting yourself at fault. It's just like a judge is responsible for judging a murder case, even though they're not at fault for the murder. So the next time you feel victimized, offended, or self-righteous, consider if the issue matters. If not, don't give a fuck about it and focus on something meaningful. Embrace uncertainty. Humans love being sure about things, only to find later how wrong those assumptions were. For instance, for a long time, mankind believed the earth was flat, or that diseases could be cured by draining bad blood. These assumptions turned out wrong because we don't move from failure to success or wrong to right. You move from less successful to more successful, and from wrong to less wrong. So, where do values come into this? Your values and beliefs come from your subjective interpretation of limited experiences. With time, your views about life and how to live will change, and so will your experiences, which lead to different opinions. The only way to grow is to realize your values and beliefs aren't set in stone. Because when you're sure about something, you can become insecure if things don't turn out as expected. You may start justifying that cheating is okay or punish others for their mistakes. But when you embrace uncertainty, you can feel comfortable about your ignorance without feeling the need to judge others or yourself. Fail forward. Your values and beliefs shape how you approach life. For instance, you may fear failure if you want others to like you than if you wish to improve your relationships. Manson says to go for process-oriented values. These values allow you to embrace failure. The longer you fail at something, the more improvements you'll make, and the greater your success will be. Know that the accepting part is an essential part of psychological growth. If you feel stuck, start doing something to find new ideas and answers. You don't always need motivation to do something. Instead, taking action triggers a 3-part cycle: action, inspiration, motivation. Success will come the moment you start taking action. Get comfortable with rejection. Rejection is inevitable, whether you're getting into a relationship, starting a career, or determining a value. What you choose to reject or commit to defines who you are. And yet we've been trained to believe it's better to have more. So you may find yourself surrounded by too many choices, but it can only reduce your happiness because you'll always wonder what you missed out on. Setting your priorities is the best way to get comfortable with rejecting something. For example, if you wish to build healthy relationships, you must focus on establishing trust and boundaries without insecurities. Contemplate your mortality. This may appear morbid, but there's comfort in contemplating death. And it's not about dwelling on how to die, but contemplating it in a way that helps you appreciate life. People who confront their mortality can live each day to the fullest. So, ask yourself these questions. How will the world be different without me? What will I be leaving behind? How will I leave the world a better place? If you think the universe revolves around you, that you're entitled to greatness, suffering all the injustices, or need to leave a legacy behind to be remembered, you'll always need to prove yourself. And the fear of rejection, failure, and death will always plague you. In comparison, you'll find true happiness if you accept your life as a passing grain in the universe's timeline and focus on contributing to a broader cause that outlives you. Make peace with death and make each living moment count. That's the only way to discover yourself and live fully, no shame and no regrets. And that's Mark Manson's message through his book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Tell us about your thoughts about this book summary in the comments below.